This is ridiculous, isn't it? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, yes, there was a standard improvement in the WNBA this year, but it wasn't just Aja Wilson. It was Napheesa Collier as well. I think the best thing the Sports Illustrated should have done, why couldn't they have named the WNBA the WNBA Player of the Year? Why does it have to just be one WNBA player? Why can't they make the WNBA League the WNBA Player of the Year? Why couldn't they make the WNBA the WNBA League of the Year? Obviously it's ridiculous. But before we get on to that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 40,330 by the end of the day. We're going for 40,500 by Christmas. But it's just ridiculous, the discourse. Congratulations to Aja Wilson. Do I think she should have won WNBA Player of the Year? No, but I'm not going to complain. Because if we're talking about the entirety of the year, I think if you include playoffs, it was Napheesa Collier. And I do think Napheesa Collier probably does win it. They win the championship. Because like Stewie wasn't Finals MVP. If Fee wins Finals MVP with Depoy, they might give it to her. But Aja Wilson, but this is my favorite comment though. She got better at everything while compromising nothing. Winning. They compromised winning. Aja Wilson, when she was shot chucking, they lost a lot of games, by the way. They lost a lot of games. But my favorite thing is like the way people are reacting to this though. Like, I'm never going to complain about Aja Wilson winning. I think over the course of the year, I would have given it the Fee, but like, Aja Wilson did break the points record, points average, and she broke the all-time total rebound record in the season. Like, look, Aja Wilson had a fantastic regular season from an individual standpoint. So, she was the unanimous MVP. I'm not going to question this. I'm not going to say that this is ridiculous, because I don't think anyone did when she won MVP. Even if you didn't believe Aja Wilson should have won MVP, I don't think it was that close. Like, I don't think that it was like, even if you didn't think it was her, you'll be like, okay, maybe if you want to give the Fee gets a slight edge. But nobody wanted to be the person that didn't vote for Aja Wilson. So it was going to be unanimous. No one wanted to be that person. Because even though the one person didn't vote for Caitlin Clark was never announced, you better believe if one person did not vote for Aja Wilson, they would be named and shamed. Because heck, Aja Wilson was told herself who the fourth place voter was last year. But as she was MVP, so at least you don't have to hear people complain about her not getting enough. This is not fair. How dare you? Should have named the entire league so there's no hard feelings. She didn't win a championship. I'm so confused. I mean, we've got people there out there complaining about Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement, saying that Aja Wilson won multiple championships in college. And I mean, did she not lose in like the Elite Eight in her final year or something in her last year of college with South Carolina? She won a championship in college, in fairness. She won a one single championship, which again is fine, but it's like, which is not fine, it's good. She won a championship, it's great, but it's not it wasn't factually correct. People saying she won multiple. But why couldn't they put the whole league on the cover? See how stupid this sounds now. Yeah, like, it is one of the dumbest things ever said. Like, what the Mystics owner said is honestly one of the dumbest things ever said in sports. And that's all the people are saying. Because it's like, it sounds dumb because instead of just congratulating Aja Wilson, and it sums up the narratives. So Caitlin Clark wins Athlete of the Year. Why could it not have been Aja Wilson? Because she only played for 4 months of the year. And like, she didn't play into October. They didn't win. And her team got worse. So yeah, she wins her MVP. She got her Sports Illustrated Player of the Year. And people are like, oh, you see, Sports Illustrated gave to Aja and not Caitlin Clark. It's like, Caitlin, why would you give WNBA Player of the Year to Caitlin Clark? And that's dumb. That's incredibly dumb. That's like giving Caitlin Clark the MVP last year based on what she did in Iowa. But when you're talking about Athlete of the Year, you take into account college stuff and the WNBA stuff. And with that all taken into account, and also the fact that Time said impact off the court and like impact on their sport was a big factor. Nobody has been a phenomenon in their sport this year like Caitlin Clark. It hasn't happened. Like, she is, again, almost like your Tigers. But the difference is between everyone else is that there's nobody that's gone from a sport that was a relative obscurity and launched it into the mainstream. Like, you're now hearing like all of the big NBA like analysts, NBA media are like, dude, we don't have anyone to fill in for LeBron James and Steph. Like, the NBA has done such a horrible job promoting their next crop of players, and it's like, The face of basketball is Caitlin Clark when they retire. And that is just a fact. And like at the same time, like Kobe was the face of basketball for a while, even when you might have argued he wasn't the best player. LeBron was the face of basketball, even though he hasn't been the best player in the world since 2017, maybe 2017. I think the last time I think I would confidently say LeBron's the best in the world. Maybe 2018. I would have said Giannis. Once Giannis came into his own, Giannis was better than him. So yeah, it is a funny situation, but AJ Wilson winning WNBA Player of the Year for just a WNBA season. It's effectively the Sports Illustrated Award is effectively the MVP. And I think she probably would have won it last year. And I think if you actually want to argue that AJ Wilson if there was a Player of the Year in 2023, AJ Wilson deserved it. Yeah, of course. Of course she deserved it. Like, she won Finals MVP. They didn't have Chelsea Gray for the last game of the Finals. She won a championship. She won Depoy. Yeah, I think, and my favorite part about all this, like people like AJ had the greatest WNBA season of all time. I'm like, man, AJ Wilson didn't even have the best season AJ Wilson has had in the last 2 years this year. But obviously, saying anything other than AJ the greatest player to ever pick up a damn basketball. Like, I remember me saying it was laughable that she thought she could beat Josh Hart, and some people were like, Josh Hart's so disrespectful for AJ, saying that he'll beat her like 11-8. And I'm like, man, Josh Hart, if they played the game to 100 and Josh Hart tried, Josh Hart would win 100-7. I wouldn't give AJ Wilson 11 points if they played to 100. But yeah, that's just talking about this whole thing, like just talking about how ridiculous the entire situation is. And I mean, I think it's, even though it's so ridiculous, I still do feel like it's something to even just talk a little bit about, because I think it's okay pointing out the ridiculous. I think it's okay pointing out the dumb. And I understand why people don't. Like, I've seen the video from Rachel Demita saying she doesn't want to get involved in any of this. And I think that it's, you know what? I think that that's a completely justified standpoint to have. Like, basically just for your own sanity, not getting too bogged down on the dumb stuff. And there's a lot of dumb stuff in the WNBA. But for me, I just find it funny. I find all the dumb stuff in the WNBA funny. I find the hypocrisy funny. I find the drama funny. I find all of this funny. Especially during an off-season where there's no real basketball being played, when we're looking at Unrivaled literally deciding, yeah, we actually don't have 36 players this year. Let's just run with 35. Like some mad stuff like that. And you're like, there's some new nonsense every day in this league. And this one's funny because you better believe the Mystics owner, no one's going to complain about this award, because like you're not going to hear people complaining saying, oh, but like, what about Jonquel Jones? She's a champion. She's the finals MVP. That's the real award. Like they would have had, let's just say a hypothetical, like they did last year when AJ Wilson didn't win MVP, but she won finals MVP. They were saying, oh, you know, the MVP doesn't really matter. The real award is finals MVP. And where's Jonquel? Jonquel did not deserve to be here. Like we can talk about basketball from a correct standpoint. But the reality is in the WNBA, if your answer isn't AJ, if your answer is who's the best, if your question is, the question is, who is the best perimeter defender in the WNBA? And your answer is not AJ Wilson, they will attack you. Which I think is hilarious, by the way. You can't even have proper basketball discourse, because you even see they compromise nothing. It's like, man, their team lost. I wouldn't say compromising nothing. The more shots she took, the worse her team looked most of last year. Either way, though, I'll see you guys.